بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم اجعلنا منهم ومن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. اللهم آمين. اللهم آمين. اللهم آمين. You guys can hear me well, right? I don't have to use the mic. Inshallah, today we'll be continuing what we finished or what we started last week. We started the explanation, kind of understanding of Surah Al-Falaq and Surah An-Nas. We talked in detail last week about the meaning of Rabb. What does it mean for someone or something to be Rabb? Oftentimes we translate it as Lord, but there's more to it than just that. We talked about this last time. And just as a brief little reminder, inshallah, there were 6 things under the meaning of Rabb. And I want a couple of people to remind me what those 6 things were. Because this class is called QURANVERSATION, and a conversation is not one way. What was one of the 6 things?
Mutarabbi.
Huh?
Mutarabbi.
Mutarabbi or Murabbi, very good. The one who raises you. What was another one of the meanings in Rabb?
Murshid.
Murshid, very good. The one who guides you. So you have Murabbi and Murshid. Murshid means to guide you to a certain path that you are destined to be in. And I gave the example. You guys are college students, alhamdulillah, university students, so alhamdulillah. By now you've realized that you just have a certain niche in certain things. There's just some things that just come to you naturally. This is Al-Murshid, guiding you to something that you're just meant to do. Then he said Al-Murabbi, the one who raises you. And Tarbiya in the Arabic language, it's a difficult word to translate because it's not a literal raise. You know how you raise your kids? That's what Tarbiya means, to raise someone like that. Give someone the proper nutrition, the proper environment, everything they need to become the person they are. This is what Al-Murabbi means. What were the next 4? Brother, in the front row.
Was Murid one of them?
Huh?
Murid.
Murid? Murid was not one. You don't have to say it in Arabic. If you say it in Arabic, it's pretty impressive. I don't really care. I don't even know them in Arabic half the time. So if you know them in English, feel free. Not remember? Okay. Any of the sisters? Huh? Al-Malik. Very good. Al-Malik, the one who owns you. But Al-Malik was paired with one other thing. What was it? Al-Sayyid. Very good. Al-Malik and Al-Sayyid. Al-Malik means the one who has full ownership of you, and Sayyid is the one who has full authority over you. Why is this important? We gave the example of the car last time, right? You have a car, you own it. Inshallah. Right? You own it. But you don't necessarily have full authority over it. What does that mean? You cannot drive the car how you want to drive it. There's a speed limit. You cannot put the car on the road if it's not insured. You cannot put the car on the road if you don't have tags, etc., etc., etc. So yes, you own it, but you don't have full authority over it. Al-Malik and Al-Sayyid used to go hand in hand because not only does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have full ownership, but he also has full authority. He can do whatever he wants. Good, so we covered 4, right? We had Al-Murabbi, Al-Murshid, Al-Malik, and Al-Sayyid. What were the last 2? These 2 are actually my favorite. I can't believe you guys forgot. You guys are terrible. Al-Qayyim, the only sister that Al-Qayyim, the one that without him, you would cease to exist. And we gave the example of, remember when you were in middle school or elementary school, and you had a project where you had to plant something. You just made a little plant, right? And you have to give it the proper amount of water. If you give it too much water, it'll drown. The seed won't grow. If you give it too little water, it'll also die. If there's too much soil, it won't work. If there's too little soil, it won't work. It has to have the right amount of sunlight, etc., etc., etc. Right? We talked about this. So then you are the qayyim over this plant. Without you, this plant would cease to exist. Without you, this plant would cease to exist. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us with his relationship with us. Without him, we would just cease to exist. It just wouldn't happen. And the last one, I'm not going to ask because I know the sister is going to answer. And I really do appreciate you taking notes. But the last one was Al-Mun'i, the one who gives gifts. And the reason behind this is we understand that everything that we have is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes this is hard to grasp because I can ask myself, you know what? I didn't get this shirt as a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I didn't wake up one day and was like, oh, that's a nice shirt. I should get that shirt. It is a very nice shirt, but it's very comfortable. But I didn't. So how can we say that everything is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Before we were born, what job did we do? Because the understanding is that if you do a job, if you do something for someone else, they give you something in return. Whether it be money, whether it be some rights, whatever it may be. You do a job for someone, you do something for someone, and they give you something back. What job did I do to receive my hands? Before I was born, I didn't do nothing to deserve these hands. The feet that I have to walk on. And subhanAllah, you never realize how important it is to walk, or how much of a precious blessing this is, until you ask someone who can't walk. Ask a crippled man, crippled woman. Ask them, what would you give up to stand on your feet just one more time? They give up anything. And I can tell you this because when I was a little bit younger, I tore my ACL. And I promise you, wallahi, like I'm not saying this to be some righteous whatever, right? I promise you, wallahi al-azim, the thing that you miss the most when you cannot bend your legs anymore is doing sajda to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't miss anything more. I was in a cast for 3 months and you can't bend your leg. If you've ever broken your leg or have any severe injury in your leg, you know there's nothing like it. You give up anything just to sit down again. Your leg just feels so tired standing straight all the time. So this is Al-Mun'im, the one who gives us gifts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also given us the gift of life. Without your life, you would literally have nothing. And that was literally used in its proper sense. Literally, you would have nothing if you didn't have life. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you life, anything that happens because of that also belongs to Him, right? So this is the idea of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving us gifts. We talked about this in detail last time, and this was the meaning of Rabb, Lord, right? And I said that I really don't like the translation of Lord, because it doesn't capture all of this. We read Surah Al-Falaq, and I do apologize, we don't have the translation now. But we read Surah Al-Falaq, for example, and we say, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. Say, I seek. I remember last time, I don't like I seek refuge, but I submit myself in refuge and protection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with Rabb al-Falaq, right? And Rabb is usually translated as Lord, and I really don't like that translation, because if I tell you Allah is my Lord, it doesn't capture that same meaning of explaining these 6 things, because unfortunately we don't, between the translation of English and Arabic, there's a lot of things lost. It's nothing, it's not like bagging on English or anything. Just English is not as detailed as Arabic is. Okay, so we talked about that last time. We also talked about Al-Falaq. Al-Falaq means to tear something open and for something else to come out of it, right? And we said this is very important. Whenever you want to understand a surah, whenever you want to understand anything in the Quran, the first thing you have to understand is that everything is connected. When the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ tells us that this is a miracle that will last till the end of time, it can't be something that's, completely disconnected. It's like by itself and this and that. This is the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what makes it a miracle. Anyone can write a book. There have been millions, if not billions of books that have been written, but nothing can compare to the Quran. Everything is connected, yet also at the same time, everything deals with its own thing. It's very beautiful. But I told you guys that the way Allah describes Himself in a surah usually has a lot to do with the theme of the surah. The general understanding of the surah. And I told you guys the word falaq, often translated as daybreak, right? The idea is given that the sun tears the darkness open. And I gave you guys an example of another ayah in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَالِقُ الْحَبِّ وَالنَّوَى فَالِقُ الْحَبِّ وَالنَّوَى. Again, you have the same word falaq. And hab means seeds, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah is talking about how the seeds are torn open so plants can come out of it. Even if you think about that process, it's completely unfathomable. That from a teeny little seed you can have a huge tree. Subhanallah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about this. So falaq is not necessarily only daybreak, it means to tear something open and for something else to come out. And to pull something out. So the idea that was shown here is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this surah talks about how we should ask protection from physical things. We should ask protection from physical harms. From physical harms. Whether it be min sharri ma khalaq, from anything that He has created. Min sharri ghasiqin idha waqab, from the physical harm of something that's in the darkness. Min sharri naffathati fil 'uqad, from the physical harms that may come from black magic. Right? This surah deals with physical harms. And the picture that is drawn is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He starts off the surah. I'm going to use my laser pointer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts off the surah by saying, min sharri ma khalaq, from the evil of everything that He has created, or from the harms that may come from everything that He has created. And then He ends by saying, وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدٍ, and from the harm or the evils that may come from someone who is acting out on their jealousy. And we'll go into a little bit more detail today of what that means. But everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, and then someone being jealous, those are two very small circles. One is very large circle and the other one is very small. This surah starts by us asking protection from just general harm, and it slowly gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. By Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala using the word falaq to describe it, as if He's saying that when you feel that all your problems are stacked up on top, when you feel like there's just no way out, just one thing after another, turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who can tear everything open and just pull you out. This is the beauty of the word falaq. Okay, the next thing that I wanted to talk about, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He starts off this word with qul. I'm pretty sure 90% of you know what that means. It means say. The idea that's given here is that if you want to seek help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you want the assistance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can't just feel it. You can't just be like, you know what? Allah knows that I need help. He should be helping. This is not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us that if you want help, you need to humble yourself, destroy your ego, and actually ask for it. Because asking for help is one of the hardest things in the world to do. If you have younger siblings, you know this for a fact. If you know anyone younger than you, you know this for a fact. They will never ask for help, especially from you as a younger brother or sister. Never. It just won't work. You'll see them struggle through something, but they're not willing to be like, you know what, I don't know, give me some help. But this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us, you want the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's not just going to happen. Just say, I don't know, or I can't do this. Ya Allah, I need your help. That's it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help. So now inshallah, let's go into detail. Now we have a little bit of an overview of the surah. And last week we finished the first ayah of the surah. Inshallah, this week we'll try and finish through the rest of the surah, and maybe even the next one, as they're very, very connected. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ, say that I submit myself in refuge with the Lord, or the Rabb of Al-Falaq, the one who tears things open and pulls other things out of it. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, now what exactly are you asking protection from? The first ayah, this whole entire talk so far, has been how to ask protection. But now once you receive protection, what do you want protection from? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the first thing, min sharri ma khalaq. And also it's very important, I think inshallah right now we'll do it because it happens a lot throughout the surah, the word shar. Oftentimes it's translated as evil. Shar does not necessarily mean evil. It means something that is bad, that can harm you in a bad way. This word is also used, the word sharara is used for the sparks that come out of a flame. If you ever started a fire, I'm pretty sure you guys have been to like a little bonfire or whatever. But you know when you have a fire, there's like little like sparks flying everywhere. Those are called sharara. So the idea is shar is something that can cause harm to you. Okay? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, min shar, not necessarily evil, because evil doesn't always have to be harmful, right? Even though technically it is. Still, this is more of a physical harm. Shar is more of a physical harm kind of word. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, now what are we asking protection from? First ayah, how do we ask protection? Next ayah, what are we asking protection from? Min sharri ma khalaq, from the harms or the evils or the darknesses of anything that has been created. Ya Allah, if there is something that has been on this earth that can hurt me in any way, I want your help from it. I want your protection from it. Keep it away. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمِن شَرِّ غَاسِقٍ إِذَا وَقَبَ. وَمِن شَرِّ غَاسِقٍ إِذَا وَقَبَ. This ayah, we are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and here you kind of see the psychology of human beings. Naturally, as human beings, we are afraid of the unknown. That's why most people hate Muslims, because they have no knowledge at all about Muslims. Nothing. And the only quote-unquote knowledge they do have is what they see on Fox News. So naturally, as human beings, we are afraid of the unknown. So when you have non-Muslims everywhere, right? People who don't follow the same religion as yourself, right? Whoever it may be. And they know nothing about Islam. And then they hear about some Muslim extremists. The natural reaction will be all Muslims are bad. You're afraid of something that you know nothing about. This is a fault on ours. This is our fault. That's why people always, whenever anyone has come up to me, normal talk, whatever, has been like, I don't like how Muslims are uncomfortable in the United States, or I don't like all of this oppression that's going on, or I don't like the fact that we're scared, or this or that. And I was like, you know who I blame for this? I don't blame Americans, quote unquote, for feeling this way, even though technically we're all American, right? I don't blame the white folk, even though I'm white, right? I blame white folk for a lot of things, but just not this. I don't blame them. I don't think it's their fault. I think it's our fault. It's our fault that we haven't spoken up. It's our fault that we're not in the media. It's our fault that we don't have these big name lawyers for like Google, right? It's our fault that we don't smile. When was the last time you went to the masjid and you saw an uncle or an auntie smiling? They're not. They have like constant the bad word face, right? They have constant face, right? You know what I'm talking about? Alhamdulillah. If you don't know what I'm talking about, alhamdulillah. Twice alhamdulillah. But they do. It's like everyone's always angry. It's just like, Beta, get out! Right? Or it's like you're like eating somewhere, it's like you're not supposed to eat in the masjid, or this, or that, or the other. Like they're always angry. This is our fault. I don't blame them. Back to the point. Naturally, as human beings, we are afraid of the unknown. That is why majority of people, actually I'm going to say all people. I'm going to say all people, and if you disagree with me, you are a liar. All people are afraid of the dark. Everyone's afraid. Okay? Maybe different levels, right? I'll agree with you with that. But I think everyone to a certain extent is afraid of the dark. Can you imagine waking up one day and seeing nothing? Like it's just dark everywhere. You just start bumping into stuff. You start hearing noises in the dark. And that's creepy. Right? That's why in all scary movies, the lights don't work. Because if it was light, you wouldn't be scared. Just like grab a knife or something, right? But there's an idea of being afraid of the unknown. That's why we're afraid of the dark. In this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about. First, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the harm that can come from anything that has been created. And the circle gets smaller. Now the harm that can come from anything that is in the darks, anything that we can't see. And this expression in the Arabic language, waqaf, right? The asifin idha waqaf in the Arabic language was used for a black ant on a dark stone in the middle of the night. I don't know what that is. It's giving me, huh?
They're going to make an announcement.
Oh yeah? I'm going to assume it's not extremely important. I'm going to keep going. Okay. Qasiqin idha waqaf. A black ant on a dark stone late at night, midnight, for example, when it's really dark out. That's what it is. The idea that it's so dark that you can barely even see anything, that you can see anything. Next ayah, وَمِن شَرِّ النَّفَّاثَاتِ فِي الْعُقَدِ. Now, the circle, what we're asking is getting tighter, right? It's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. This ayah, Allah says, now, what's another thing that you should ask protection from? You should ask protection from النَّفَّاثَاتِ فِي الْعُقَدِ, the ones who blow on knots. This is another way of saying black magic. Okay? And as we know, a lot of times we don't like to believe this as Muslims. We like to believe that everything is nice and everything is fine. And the truth of the matter is there is a such thing as black magic. And there is a such thing as harm that can come from it. How do we know this? And how do we know that innately we are not protected from it? And this is where these surahs actually come into play. The Prophet Muhammad was affected by black magic. So if the Prophet can be affected by black magic, then any of us can be as well, right? So it's not like a spooky thing that your parents kind of scare you with. Black magic is a very real thing, okay? And then, just so that you're not scared to death, when Rasulullah was affected by the black magic, that's when these surahs were revealed. That's the opinion of some of the scholars. Some other scholars say, Jibreel told him, now you should start reading these surahs. These two surahs, Surah Al-Falaq and Surah An-Nas, are what protect you from it. They're called Al-Ma'udatayn. Al-Ma'udatayn. That's the nickname of these surahs. Anyway, so we ask us for this protection from black magic, because it is a real thing, and it can hurt people very, very badly, as we saw even to our beloved Prophet Muhammad. The next ayah, and again the circle's getting smaller, and we're ending the surah here. وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدَ. And on the harm, or the harm that can come from someone who is acting out under jealousy. Now this is very important, because you can say that, oh well, there are some types of jealousy in Islam that are allowed. Like if you're jealous of someone who reads the Quran at night, or someone who prays, or someone who gives zakat, gives a lot of sadaqah. This is something to be okay to be jealous about Islam. Another thing to note is that not all jealousy is harmful, right? So I can say, I am jealous of the athletic shape that football players are in, and I wish that I had that shape. I was in that good of a shape, physically, right? I was athletic. I don't wish harm on them. I just wish I was in better shape, just like them. Hasad in the Arabic language is a jealousy that comes from wishing ill intent on another person. So I'm going to give you an example. I gave the example of me with the football player, right? An NFL player, whoever it may be. Let's just say Hussein Abdullah. I believe he plays for the Chiefs. It's either him or Hamza, the brother. But one of them plays for the Chiefs. And I can say, well, I wish that I was in that great of shape. Now, there are two types of jealousy when it comes to that. Number one could be that I wish that I was in that shape, but I don't necessarily wish that they lost it, right? So I wish that I had the same shirt that he had, but I don't wish that he loses that shirt. I just want the same thing. This is one type of jealousy. Another type of jealousy is, I wish I had that shirt and he didn't have it. That's very different things. Very different. The fact that if someone else is happy, or someone else has something nice, and it bugs you so much that you wish that they didn't have it, and you're the one who has it. This is what hasad is. It's not only being jealous of someone, but it's saying that not only do I wish I had it, but I wish that you didn't have it. This is hasad. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't say in this ayah, He doesn't tell us to ask protection or to seek protection or to submit ourselves in protection from jealousy. We're not asking that other people are not jealous of us, right? Because I want to look very nice, inshallah, and I want other people to be jealous of me. No, I'm joking. But that's not what we're asking. We're asking protection, hasidin, a jealous person, إِذَا hasada, when they act out on that jealousy. Because again, these are two very big things. It's one thing to say that I'm jealous of you. I know you have this, but I want it as well. It's another level to say that I don't want you to have it, and I'm the only one who wants to have it. It's one thing to have that feeling. It's another thing entirely to then act out that feeling. To be like, I really don't want you to have it. And someone's actually coming to harm you, coming to take it away from you. That's what we ask protection from. And as you guys saw, the surah is getting more specific, and more specific. We started off with asking protection from something that is very general, from the harm of anything that may have been created. And then we ended up going to a specific person, acting out that specific action. Again, this is where the meaning, where the word of Al-Falaq comes in, to tear something open and to bring it apart, that we are drowned in these harms that could hurt, that these things that can hurt us. These harms are one thing after the other, after the other. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us that no matter what, He can tear it open and just pull you out of it. All you have to do is ask.
Good question. So you know how we're supposed to take hasad very seriously?
Yes.
From this ayat, or in the way that you're speaking, it's as if we're supposed to take from the hasad seriously rather than the hasad. So is it like physical harm? Is it a metaphysical harm, or is it just a physical harm?
What you're talking about is how we should act, right? Hasad in and of itself, at least that's what I'm assuming. You're asking, from what it seems like here, is that jealousy in and of itself is not a bad thing, but it's acting out that jealousy is what makes it bad. Jealousy is a bad thing. But in this surah, we're not, again, it's all about that physical harm, right? We're not asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection from being jealous, right? That's something else entirely. This surah is more focused on things that can harm us, not how we harm others. So this surah says, I'm not asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection to stop me from being jealous. Rather, I'm asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection. Sorry, go ahead.
So you're saying, you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protection from the physical harm, not from the mental harm of the other person.
Of the other person.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yes.
not just the physical. So here we're pointing out the physical.
Right.
What about the metaphysical form of jealousy? Because doesn't the evil eye do something to you, or is there no metaphysical harm in other people being jealous of you, in that negative jealousy?
There are, and that's what these two surahs are for. That falls under in between the black magic and the hasid. That kind of falls in line. Why? Because the black magic is, in this surah, not only are we talking specifically of black magic, but things that can harm us that are not physical. And then hasid, someone that's acting out that jealousy. And also the evil eye, although technically it is, what you're saying is like metaphysical, but you're still acting it out. You're still saying or thinking something that, hey, I wish harm on this person in whatever way. So it does kind of get the same idea. The idea is you're thinking of it from the perspective of the doer. This surah is talking about from the perspective of the one where the action is done to. So yes, it's metaphysical when you are doing the evil eye. You may have just thought something. You didn't say mashallah. You might have said something, you didn't say mashallah. But when the evil eye, the harm comes from it, that's what we're acting.
Which is a physical form.
Which is physical. Right? So like someone has the evil eye and because of that you trip.
I see.
Now that physical, that's what we're actually protecting. Not from other people. You can't stop other people. That's not going to happen. You can protect yourself. Right? It's easier to hold a shield than to tie up every single one of your enemies. It's just not going to happen. Right? So that's the idea.
Would you say that it is also protecting, I guess, from you can inflict injury upon yourself through being jealous?
I don't think you can be jealous of yourself.
No, not jealous of yourself.
It's like, God dang, you're so good looking.
In being
like
jealous of
touching
other
yourself.
people. Like for example, like people who become anorexic or bulimic. You know, a lot of them are very jealous of other people and they harm themselves through that jealousy. Does that, I guess, encompass that type also?
It could. I can. It just says, hasid is someone who is jealous, right? It's a ism fa'il, which means the doer form of a verb, right? So like for example, if I say amal is action, work. Amil is a worker, right? So it's the doer version. Also says hasid, that means the one who's acting out that jealousy. Either hasad once they act upon that jealousy. Now, if you can commit harm against yourself, Allah Ta'ala alam, if this is what we're specifically asking from, if that can be put inside of it, I can't give you a 100% answer. Mainly because number one, it's just understanding it, and number two, it's in the medical field, right? I'm not a doctor, so I don't really understand everything that has to do with that specific circumstance or that specific situation, so I can't really comment on that. But what I can tell you is that we're asking protection from the actions of a jealous person. Now, if for whatever reason you're jealous of you're jealous of other people and you're harming yourself, Allah Ta'ala. For me, that just doesn't make sense. I can say that when it comes to medical things, Islam almost always makes an exception to the rule, and it's also very understanding. So, Wallahu Ta'ala, I can't give you a 100% answer. I'm very sorry. Any questions before we move on to the next surah? No? Awesome. So the next surah, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala talks about now protecting ourselves spiritually. First we deal with the outside, now let's deal with the inside. Because you may look really nice, but you could be a terrible person inside, like myself. No, I'm joking. I don't look that nice. Surah An-Nas deals with the insides, our spiritual state. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. Say, again, the same way the other surah started. If you want help, if you feel like maybe your salah is not 100%, you gotta do some action. You gotta wake up. You gotta do something about it. You can't just be like, oh, God is just gonna make stuff better. That's not how it works. You have to do something. You have to either ask for help, you have to go learn, go do something, right? That's what Allah trying to talk about. Qul. Also, Qul also means to announce something. To say is to announce it, to say it out loud. It's not like a say inside kind of thing. The word Qul means to actually say something out loud to where other people can hear you as well. And that's not necessarily to say that you should start making dua, you should start making dua in a public forum. That's not what this is saying. But at the same time, just physically ask for something. Qul a'udhu. We talked about it last time. The letters alif, sin, and ta give what meaning? They give the meaning to seek something out. That's why we say astaghfirullah. The alif, sin, ta at the beginning, that we're seeking the forgiveness of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala doesn't say asta'id. He doesn't say that I'm seeking protection. He says a'udhu. A'udhu means to put all hands up and submit yourself to Him. It's not just I'm asking for it. I'm saying, Ya Allah, without you, I literally can't do anything. If you're not protecting me, no one else can. All hands up, you take the wheel. Right? Allah take the wheel. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ, with the Lord, we talked about this last time and a little bit today, and nas of humanity. This is very, very important for this one. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us here how we act, psychologically how we act. When we want to ask for help, for the most basic of things, who do we normally go to? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Rabbin Nas, the Lord of the people, right? Malikin Nas, King of the people. Ilahin Nas, and the Lord of the people, the one worthy of worship by the people. This is very beautiful how it acts towards the psychology of human beings. We said that the word Rabb also has root in the word Tarbiyah. They even sound the same, which means to raise someone. Now, who's the one who usually raises you? Your mother. Your mother, your parents, right? Your mother and your father, your parents. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is highlighting here how we usually ask for help. If we need help, we usually go to the people who raised us. And then if they can't help us, then we go to the government. And if they can't help us, we go to the Ilah. Then we go to Lord, right? In this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is highlighting, after He says, I have a laser pointer. After He says Ilah, that's when He gives what we're asking protection from. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is highlighting here how this order should be backwards. You ask here first. This is where you can get your help. Ilahin Nas is where you can get your help. Then you can go to Rabb or Malik. Then you can go to your parents or the governments. First, we're asking for Ilah because, again, we're highlighting the same thing. This whole surah is talking about how to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What's the proper way to do it? What to ask protection from? The surah is all about dua. Asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is highlighting here that if Allah has got your back, if Allah is with you, then no one else can be against you. Nothing. The whole world tries to harm you. But God is on your side. The whole world can't do nothing. Talk about God. right? It's just not going to work. But if God is against you and the whole world is for you, what can you do? How can they protect you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And inshallah, one day, we'll go through the details of understanding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To understand it just a little bit, we covered Rabb, right? The grasp of understanding God to be God. Right? And I think this is very important, just as Muslims in general, because oftentimes we're told, do X, Y, and Z. Pray 5 times a day. Why? Because Allah said so. But if you don't know who Allah is, then that commandment means nothing. And I always give the example, hopefully it works well with you guys too. I give the example that if I tell any one of you to stand up right here and do 50 jumping jacks, you're going to look at me, you're going to laugh, and you're going to walk away. But if your mom walks in and says, you need to be doing 50 jumping jacks right now, you're going to go like, why am I doing this? Right? But you're going to start doing your jumping jacks. Right? Because Mama says so. The same idea is here. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to do X, Y, and Z, if you don't understand, if I don't understand who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, then that means nothing. That means nothing. But inshallah, another day we'll talk about that. This surah is highlighting, again, another level of the psychology of human beings, how we ask for help from the people who raised us, then the governments, and then our Lord, the one worthy of worship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us here, listen, you need to ask Ilah first, and then get help from anyone else. Because if Ilah, if your Lord is not with you, then it doesn't matter who else is. So قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ, say that you are submitting yourself in protection with the Lord, with the Rabb of An-Nas, with the Lord of humanity. Malikin Nas, the King of all people, An-Nas. Ilahi Nas, the Lord of all people, the one worthy of worship. Ilah means worthy of worship, the one that deserves your worship. There's no way I can say it. Ilahi Nas, worthy of worship. That's why we say La ilaha illallah. There's no one worthy of worship except Allah. Now, what are we asking protection from? We talked about how the previous surah we're asking protection from physical harms. This surah now we're asking protection from spiritual harms. And who is your number one enemy spiritually? I'm asking you a question, not being a question. Who's your number one enemy spiritually?
Shaitan.
Shaitan, I'm not sure like they're so smart. Shaitan. Allah Ta'ala here is telling us how to ask protection from your number one enemy, Shaitan, the devil. من شر الوسواس الخناس, from the harm that can come from al-waswas al-khannas. This is it teaches us how Shaitan works, right? And the brother over here can tell you even more. He knows a lot about like fighting strategy and whatnot. I think you play video games. But I'm just trying to like take myself out of the spotlight because I play way too many video games. And I don't want to sound like it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala highlights something here about how Shaitan thinks, how he works. Al-waswas means the one who whispers, right? And we'll talk about it, inshallah, a little bit more detail, like what's the difference between waswasa and hamasa. Hamasa also means to whisper. Hamas means to whisper. But what does waswasa, what's so special about, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala use specifically the word waswas and not hams? We'll talk about that in a second. And then al-khannas. Al-khannas means the one who goes, attacks, and then retreats. Ever seen that video where it's like a little lion cub? It's like walking around. Oh, I think it's a dog actually. It's a dog walking around, and there's a monkey on a telephone pole, and it like pulls its tail, and it climbs up, and it comes back around. The dog turns around. You guys ever seen that video? I spent too much time on the internet. But there's a video like that. But this is what khannas means. The idea is, well, maybe your siblings have done this to you. They come and they like punch you, and they just run away, and they come back and they tag you again, and they run away. This is what khannas means. It's not like I'm straight up coming to hurt you. I'm going to attack you a little bit, and then I'm going to run. Go, retreat. Hit, and then retreat. So al-waswas al-khannas, the one who whispers and then retreats. Shaitan will never. We have to understand something. A lot of times, and I don't mean this in a good way, but a lot of times we don't give enough credit to Shaitan. We don't. We're like, oh, Shaitan, oh, he's never going to get me. The devil, no. We don't give enough credit to Shaitan. You have to understand, Shaitan has been alive before all of humanity. Right? We know. Because when Adam was created, what was the commandment that was given to the angels and the only jinn right there? Iblis, to the point where that's where he got kicked out of Jannah. He was told to do sajda. He was told to do sajda to Adam, bow down to Adam, and he said, no, I'm better than you, right? That means he was already alive. That's the first thing. Other thing is there are some narrations that say that Iblis was actually the general of the army of angels. Iblis was the only jinn with that high of a level. He was also the only jinn in general. So Shaitan has been around for a while. He has literally seen the first man, and he will see the last man. Why do we know he'll see the last man? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised him life until the day of judgment. Different topic for different things. Like, oh, why would he do that? We'll talk about it another time, inshallah. Don't worry. There's a reason for everything. But Shaitan is very smart. Very, very smart. Don't think that, oh, Shaitan will never get me. You know, he tells me to drink. And you know what? I don't drink ever. It's like, that's not how Shaitan works. Shaitan is much, much, much more intelligent. Shaitan will tell you to do something good, but then make something bad out of it. Let me give you an example. Shaitan will tell you, when you go to the masjid, drop $10 in the box. But when you do it, make sure your mom sees you, so she thinks you're a good kid. This is what Shaitan does. He'll convince you to do good things, but in a bad way. And then he'll run away. Make it seem like it's your idea. And then come back and add something else. Now make sure your auntie sees you as well. You want more people to know you're good, don't you? You want people to know that you're a Muslim, right? So yeah. Okay, so then give sadaqah. Okay. Next thing you know, when the fundraiser comes around, this is why I hate fundraisers. Who wants to donate $10,000? Me! Gotcha. Why? Because you want other people to do it. I'm not necessarily saying that it's bad to donate. Don't get me wrong. This is one of the best things that we can do Islamically, is to help our masajid, is to help the poor people in our communities, to donate things that we work hard for. But when you start doing it to make someone else happy, when you start doing it to show off, now you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So my point was that sometimes we don't give credit to Shaitan. So when we're asking protection from the whispers of Shaitan, this is a very important thing to ask. Don't just blow it off, right? It's not just like an off-the-cuff kind of thing. Iblis is very smart. And not only is he very smart, but he is literally your enemy, your worst enemy. Not only do we call him that, he has called himself that. He says, I hate humanity. The idea of a human being, I hate it. Shaitan has said this. He says, I am your number one enemy. But we just kind of blow it off. It's like, Shaitan, we ain't got nothing. But he does. So we need to be just conscious of it. Min sharri al-waswas al-khannas. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection from the harms that can come from al-waswas al-khannas. Waswas, now what's the difference between waswasa and hamasa? And I think with this, the end we're just going to very briefly go over it, because there's not really much detail on it. Waswasa in the Arabic language means to whisper inside of your chest. That's one thing. The other thing is, and this is an important distinction between the two. Hamasa means to whisper once. Now if you notice in the word was, it repeats itself. Just like the word zalzal. Right? إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالًا. Right? We have this word. These words in the Arabic language, they give the meaning, a very obvious meaning of repetition. It happens over and over and over, and it doesn't stop, just over and over and over and over and over again. That's why when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when the earth shakes on the day of judgment, it's not just one little earthquake. It's one after another, after another, after another. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the day of judgment. Right here, shaitan is not only whispering once, it's one, and then another, and then he retreats, and khannas, and he comes back, he whispers again, and khannas, and he retreats, he whispers again, and then he retreats. He'll never stay right there, right in front. الَّذِي يُوَسْوِسُ فِي صُدُورِ النَّاسِ, the one who whispers in the chests of people, مِنَ الْجِنَّةِ وَالنَّاسِ, from humanity. He whispers to you. We're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection from harms that can come from shaitan, the devil, and harms that can come from An-Nas, from people. We believe Islamically that it's not just shaitan that's out to hurt you. Sometimes there are other people that are out to hurt you. This is not just an Islamic thing, this is kind of a human thing, right? Just in the previous surah, we just talked about jealousy, someone trying to hurt you. So in this surah, we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection from spiritual harm when it comes to shaitan and when it comes to humanity as well. How does that affect us? Your friends. Your friends can harm you spiritually. Choose your friends very, very wisely. This is something I'm pretty sure all of you have learned, but I can tell you for a fact that I have learned through experience. Not because I'm 50 million years old, right? Just from my own personal experience. The people you hang out with, even though sometimes we like to say, oh no, it just doesn't do this, it doesn't do that, I'm too strong, they're not good. Choose your friends very, very wisely. It will really impact who you are. I grew up in Baltimore City. And I can tell you the people who I was friends with, once upon a time, would not have allowed me to be who I am today. It just wouldn't happen. I have my friends now, my used to be friends. It's not like I hate these people. Just you have to make a distinction between people who, and you guys, who is someone who's like your close friend. Actually, girls know this better than guys. There's a difference between, hey, salam alaikum, side hug, and hey, salam alaikum, come give me like a real hug, right? Like, you know the side girl sister? Hey, salam alaikum. I know that my wife does this. She explained this to me. She was like, the side hug, that means you don't really like the person. But it's like, you know them, you like them, but they're not like your really close friends. This is what I was taught. But I don't know if it's true or not. But this is the idea. You have to choose who are your best friends, your close friends, your niche, your squad. Very, very important. Because who they are will very much impact who you are, whether you like it or not. This is not something just Islamic. As human beings, we know this. Even non-Muslims. There's an expression, birds of a feather flock together. Something that's known. But it's like, oh no, you know what? My Islam is good. Who you hang out with is who you will become, whether you like it or not. Don't try and go against the grain. So choose your friends very wisely. This is what the surah ends with. We ask Allah protection from the harm, the spiritual harm that can come from al-jinnah, from the shayateen, and nas, and humanity. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us all from these things. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to strengthen us. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us people that are not afraid to walk out as Muslimin. Not necessarily because we want to show off our Islam, but so people know more about us. So people are not afraid of us. As we covered in Surah Al-Falaq, people are just afraid of what they don't know. Most of you can say that you have a non-Muslim friend. Most of you can say that you have a non-Muslim friend. And your non-Muslim friend doesn't fear you in any way. Because they know who you are. They know what Islam is. But there's still a group of people who don't. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us people who educate people wisely, with intellect. Not just throwing stuff in people's faces, but to properly preach to people. To properly have good manners that affect people, that affect our families. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. I really appreciate you guys listening very patiently to me. I know it's very difficult. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you guys for that. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum.